in this video, I'm going to carry on looking at the text messages between Jim and Kaitlin's parents.
Because that's the next day. So then, morning of Friday. Hi, Katie, and this is from her best friend's parents. Katie asked that we update you on her living arrangements. Katie is planning to stay with us. She was here last night and plans to sleep here every night for the time being. Most of what we have gathered about the situation is from what Katie has told.
So Kate's mum is finding out what's happening by getting her friend's mum to get information from her friend. So Kate's best friend is acting like a spy and telling her mother what Kate's plans are, so that these could be sent to Kate's mother. So Kate really can't get away from her mum's watchful eye. And in the end, she says that she wants space from her friend. Is that surprising? She obviously felt really betrayed. At this point, now that Kaitlin's mum has told Jim's housing organisation that they're living together, and now that she knows that her mother has been emailing her friend's mother to get information, she asks that her mother is told she's now living there. She probably wants to protect Jim and to stop him from being evicted. Part of the email that Kate's mother doesn't read out loud says, "Are there any specific concerns you feel we should be aware of with regards to her safety and well-being?" Kate's mum had sent this lady an email saying that she wanted to know her daughter was as safe as she's able to be. So it's not surprising that the lady sends her this question. She's obviously thinking that there must be some reason why Kaitlin isn't safe. And so it's not surprising that she'd also be asking her daughter to get information about Kaitlin. And if you think about all of these videos that Kate's mother is putting out for her family and friends of the family and the public to watch, telling everyone that Kate's version is wrong, that no one should listen to what she says about her experience of them. Is it surprising that she won't trust that her friends and family will take her seriously or take her experiences of what's happened seriously?
I had almost no trust for anybody, so people were saying, oh, you should go and talk to your family or, your friends back home. I didn't trust anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Now you have to understand, this is in the middle of the afternoon, okay? I'm recovering. I'm still like a week and a half from after my surgery, okay? And then her father's dealing with multiple issues at one time in the middle of the afternoon, and he gets a call from a buddy, so now you're going to the police? You told us you moved out. Where does this end? So then he gets a text. We're coming to the house for 6. We will be there to pick up Kaitlin's things, including her credentials, including birth certificate, social security card, and passport. If we cannot successfully do so, then yes, we will go to the police. We are not looking to discuss. Kaitlin is not in a good place. Thank you for your time and understanding. Like, very abrupt. She moved out. She's the one that told us she moved out. Don't twist this on us. I will gather as many things as I can find on your list, and I will be recording the entire situation, since obviously things are getting out of hand.
But didn't they get out of hand when you changed the locks?
If you would have just told me the truth. This is Thursday evening after she quote-unquote moved out, even though she'd already been moved out. Now, I blocked this out because it's very confusing, but you'll read it later.
She never does tell us what was in this message. And it's interesting to me that she would cover it up completely like this, and that she's saying it's just because she doesn't want to confuse us. I just wonder whether it really is that she's worried we'll get confused, or whether she's worried that we're not going to be on her side if we read it. The message above it reads thus: if you would have just told me the truth that you were not moving in with, this would never have happened. Who says thus? In the context of that sentence, thus sounds like a really arrogant, self-satisfied thing to say. And this is an admission that locking her out was a punishment for her telling a lie.
This is all the same day. He's trying to handle how many different things at one time. Wrong move. We won't be there. Hey, trying to protect myself when you threaten police is wrong? We continue to give you the benefit of the doubt, and you continue to leverage in your direction. I mean, of course, her dad is like, what the heck? Now, at this point, her dad and I are going, yeah, this makes complete sense. This is so Jimmy. But at the time, we're thinking this is left field here. Okay, so to us, this was left field.
They can't see the way that they're behaving. They're convinced that this is just this outrageous behaviour from James that's really shocking at the time. They're actually behaving in a more outrageous way, because at this stage, what James is doing is he is not letting them bully Kaitlin, and he'll have his own motives for that. But that's really what he's doing. They're saying that she can't come into the house. They're locking her out. So he's threatening to get the police if she can't have her own possessions back, which really, that sounds quite reasonable, actually. It's a way to shock them back. I think all of this would have come as such a shock to the two of them, because they were so used to having control over their daughter. And I think that they thought that changing the locks would shock her into being obedient again. And now they've got somebody who's being as controlling as they are. They've now got Jim to contend with. So now that they and James are at loggerheads, what's going to happen next?
We only want Kaitlin's belongings. You went to police claiming emotional abuse. I will give her her things. I just need to record it so it's not he said, she said. I can leave the things on the porch if you want. We will be there at 6. Simply, with your permission, I will go in, grab her things, and leave. Trust me when I say every move you make to try and contain this situation or do it your way is causing her to become more emotionally imbalanced. She simply wants to do this her way. She was never emotionally imbalanced until she met him. She doesn't want to talk about it. She doesn't want to negotiate. She's practically begging that you just let her come, get her stuff, and get out. In Kaitlin's words, this way everyone gets hurt less. She doesn't want to discuss anything any further or pick apart words or reason with anyone. She's just done with it all right now and needs time away, truly away. That's at 3:30. Whether I agree with her or not, or whether you agree with her or not, this is her current mindset. And if it's anything like what I went through, the only way that relationships come out on the other side intact is if we allow her to go through this phase. Can we please let her go through this? Porch or in-out, what is best? Like her dad's just straight up. In-out is best. Beyond what Kaitlin feels towards you and Mama C, I'm thanking you personally. This will get better. Please respond to confirm we are coming to get Kaitlin's contents. 6, good. The emotional damage to my boys is starting to rack up. I can't put them through what Kaitlin is doing. She's hurting them so badly, and they are my boys. They are my kids.
I wonder if those boys will always remember their sister getting angry because they wouldn't let her in, and whether that's going to be a traumatic memory for them. This horrible feeling of not being allowed to let your sister in. And I wonder what damage that will have done to them. And she says they're my kids, but what about Kaitlin? This is the second time she's done this. Kaitlin is also her kid. And yet she seems concerned about the feelings of 2 of her kids, but not what Kaitlin would have gone through. Not the feelings of her own daughter. And how it would have been to be locked out of the house and to have your own brothers not let you in. And this is triangulation, because she's telling the brothers, by doing this, she's sending the message to the brothers that they're okay. They're okay. If they put a foot wrong, then they might end up like Kaitlin. You know, they might be an outcast too. So they better never tell even a white lie, because that's what's going to happen to them. You know, so what message do they have? How much anxiety would you feel with this sort of held over you, this condition? And yet Kaitlin is blamed for this. Caitlin's mother can't see that she played any role in that. She played the role, you know, this was her doing. It was her that said they couldn't let their sister in. So what does Kaitlin have to do with this? She was angry that they wouldn't let her in, naturally. Why wouldn't you be? It would feel like this huge betrayal that your own brothers won't let you into the house. But from Caitlin's mum's point of view, this is all Caitlin's fault. It's her who is destroying her brothers. And the same goes for Caitlin's dad, you know.
I just can't see it turning good, having her in the house. I will put her stuff on the front porch. If you truly recognize that she is, in your words, going through a phase and emotionally imbalanced, I hope with your experience that you can guide her through the other side. She is hurting my 2 other children, and I have a responsibility as a parent to protect them. If that means you're going to the police, try it, I guess, because she moved out. She's 18. I'm not refusing to give her her stuff. I'm open to discussions, but I want this to be fair to both sides. I don't want to be accused of not giving her everything, so I would like her to come in the house and see her bedroom, but I truly want this over as quickly as possible. Now this, oh my word, this is horrific. This is where it gets really... Why was the police brought in? Ask them. She said that changing the locks was emotional abuse.
How is it not? It's characterised by a person subjecting or exposing another person to behaviour that may result in psychological trauma, including anxiety, chronic depression, or post-traumatic stress disorder. You're given no warning at all, but your key doesn't work in the lock. And then you eventually realise that the lock must have been changed. And then your own brothers won't let you into the house. Isn't that the kind of thing that would cause you to feel anxiety? That might make you cry at night? I would say that it is, and that it's fair to say that something like that could cause somebody to experience trauma. That this is the kind of experience that you might remember again and again in the future. It might bring back strong feelings when you remember it. It might stop you from sleeping, and it might disturb your mood. So all of this would point to a traumatic experience. I think it's interesting that the mother reads this and she doesn't stop for a moment to think, I wonder if we were being abusive to do this.
So this goes on forever, this text. List of items to be put on front porch of our address by 7 p.m. All contents of Hope Chest, big white chest with lockable pad, on front porch. There are boxes. Leave contents in the boxes and put on front porch. Please put in trash bag on front porch. All contents of white dresser. Please put in trash bag on front porch. All contents of closet, including hangers, on front porch, can be put in trash bag on front porch. Leave Hope Chest in bedroom. Look at that, all caps. Yeah, so she doesn't want her Hope Chest. All mail and packages in Ziploc bag on front porch, except package exposed. Birth certificate, social security card, and passport in Ziploc bag on front porch, not in trash bag, separate from other like, what the flip?
She's degrading her daughter by telling her that her stuff will just be left outside the house on the front porch. And yet, despite doing that, she's not actually willing to take instructions about what to leave there. You know, she feels really uncomfortable that someone is actually telling her what to leave there.
Like, I mean, at this point, her dad's just like, whatever, you know? I mean, like I said, he's got how many? It's 4:40 in the afternoon. You know, he's just really stressing at this point. We reported emotional abuse because Kaitlin truly feels manipulated and abused emotionally and has recognized this with time away from the house environment. Yeah.
So even when she's throwing Caitlin's stuff out, when she's changing the locks, or her husband is, or whatever, Kaitlin isn't the victim, she's the perpetrator, and it has to stay that way. And when they go to the police, they need to make it clear to them that Caitlin's the perpetrator. And the same for these videos that are supposedly supporting her daughter, when actually the videos are making it clear that their family are the victims. And and Kaitlin can be a victim when that suits her, or else she's a perpetrator, but she's never their victim. Because that doesn't suit the narrative.
Legally retrieve Caitlin's belongings without having to confront you or your wife personally. Like, that's not a confrontation? We felt it was a move that would cause you to recognize and appreciate the severity of Caitlin's emotional condition. There was not and never will be any intent or action taken against you legally or personally in any other way. Kaitlin and I love all of you and are grateful for all you've done to both raise her into the beautiful woman she is and for healing me into the man she needs right now.
So this is James sucking up to the parents. He seems to do that a lot. So he now has control of Kaitlin, because she's going to him in need. He's the hero at the moment who's rescuing her and who is saying everything that needs to be said to the parents so she doesn't need to. But what he'll be realising now is how little support she's getting from her parents. So he'll be seeing the way she's being treated now. He'll see that they will have behaved like this in the past, and that Kaitlin has accepted it because she's grown up with it. Even though I'm sure that the parents would choose differently now that they know who James is, at that time they were handing her over on a plate, because it was so easy for him to gain control over her. All he had to do was continue to play the hero, to look after her now when she was feeling really vulnerable. And that would create a really strong bond between them. And as she lost trust in her family and her friends, she would have him to turn to. And so look how much power he's just been given.
Kaitlin and I would more than greatly appreciate it if everyone could come to the front porch to say goodbye when we pick up her things at 6. We will knock on the door and wait 3 minutes. Whomever comes, we are grateful. Now, like I said, at this point, her dad was just like, whatever. And at that point, I believe he was at the police department talking to the police himself, trying to find out, like, what the heck should he be doing here? So I don't even think he saw this part. I know I did not until, like, weeks later.
Caitlin's dad replied to this message, and he and Jim continued to message each other that day. So I would have thought that he would probably have read the message. He was at the police station trying to work out how he should defend himself because he'd heard that Jim had gone to the police station. And I think that really this just wasn't a priority. When actually what's happening is Kaitlin is opening herself up. She's being vulnerable enough to ask them to come and say goodbye to her. And that's a big deal because they've made it clear that she's not welcome. They don't even want her to be inside the house. And yet she is still being vulnerable with them and showing that she cares and that she wants to be able to say goodbye. But her mother says she doesn't remember and probably the father never read it. I think it's more likely that they have different priorities, that they're not interested at that time in connecting with their daughter, in being vulnerable with her as well. And they're not grateful that she's feeling vulnerable, that she wants to connect with them. Their priority is defending themselves.
So then, continuing, 504. Please have her check her wallet for her Social Security card. Can't find it in the house. All right, she will look through her stuff. Will the porch be ready for 6? Unfortunately, we have been advised by the police to not touch her things because if anything is broken, then we would be to blame. So we need her to come in. We will not talk to her. We will not engage her. Please make sure this happens as quickly as possible.
Make it as quick as possible that she comes into the house. I mean, that really is, again, like saying she's poison. Why? What terrible thing has Kaitlin done that you know, she must sprint through the house because it's just so dreadful for her to be in it? And at the same time, the mother is saying that, you know, she's been welcomed, she was never thrown out, and so on. She keeps going on about how Kaitlin had already moved out by that point. But talk about mixed messages. She's clearly extremely unwelcome in the house. Even all this time later, when she's had all this time to reflect, she's seen where her daughter has ended up. She still doesn't seem to have questioned herself at all, or certainly not publicly.
Oh yeah, we were stunned too. This was just like, what the heck? And the whole time, her dad is just so worried about me because, you know, I mean, I was stressing so bad over all of this right after surgery and everything.
This all sounds to me like I'm the victim, poor me. And Kaitlin's dad seems to enable her behaviour, Kaitlin's mum's behaviour. The excuse for changing the locks was that her mother couldn't recover because they'd been loud upstairs. I mean, what, so you changed the locks? She could have asked them to just, you know, be a bit quieter or go into another room.
And everything was on her dad. Her dad was carrying all of it.
But she's not saying we were both really stressed because of our stupid mistake, you know, because we tried to prove this ridiculous point by changing the locks, and that caused us so much stress. She's not saying it like that. She's saying it like they're both victims of Kaitlin and her boyfriend, which at that point they really weren't. And I think a lot of this is because it's this big shock to them that she now has this attitude towards them. And it's a lot easier to blame this on somebody else than to think that actually she hasn't felt able to speak her mind in the past. It's so much easier to blame this boyfriend that the whole world can see is really abusive and controlling than to think that they have had anything to do with this. It's this black and white way of seeing things, you know, this sort of good and evil approach that here's the evil monster that's kidnapped their daughter. So, you know, he is the reason for all of this. Here's the truth, you know, the truth is we were ideal parents. She had a wonderful upbringing. Look at the way she's smiling in these photos. And there's no in between. There's no chance that actually Kaitlin has a point, that she hasn't been happy, that there have been things that they've done that have been insensitive, that they haven't considered her feelings. So as long as they're these poor parents who love their daughter and are doing all they can to get her back from the evil monster, it's just so much easier because the whole world will be on their side. And they don't have to reflect, they don't have to feel uncomfortable and challenge themselves. They can feel this horrible feeling of, you know, loss and pain and worry and all the rest of it, but at least it's all outside of themselves. And that's much more familiar. You know, that's my impression. I think that it's much more familiar for them to see all of this darkness and scary stuff outside of themselves and not to acknowledge any of it that's inside.
Understood. Do I have permission to help her? Police have advised us that it is not a good idea for you to enter. They said if you are to come into my house and they want to be here, that is the advice from the police. I don't see why I should go against the police advice. Okie dokie. I'll be in the car. No problem. Like, what the... Since Kate has to do it, can we just come over now? Yes. Lordy. Okay, so that was the... Wait, what was that? That was the 22nd. Okay, so now 3 days later, get another email from her best friend's family, letting you know that Kaitlin and Jim came over this evening to tell us she has found her own place to live. She collected her things and left. She would not tell us where her new place is or anything else about her plans. She also told her best friend that she needed to take a break from their friendship. I am sorry she did not stay longer. I hope she will find her path soon. We will continue to keep your family in our prayers. Yeah, that's comforting. Sorry, prayers are always welcome. Let me rephrase that. The fact that she was taking a time out from her friendship with her best friend is what I was referring to. Sorry, my leg is going to sleep. Okay, continuing. So now, the next morning, get a follow-up from them. The main thing was she was hardly here, coming at bedtime and leaving before breakfast for only a couple of nights. So she did not open up to them at all. So now, March 1st, her father sends to their phone, "My hopes and prayers will be with you, that it all works out. You're telling people that we threw Kaitlin out? Please don't spread lies. We all stood in the kitchen when you and Kaitlin told me you were moving out. Nobody threw Kaitlin out, and she hasn't been thrown out."
Saying that they didn't throw her out, that she was never thrown out, she'd already left first and she had told this lie. You know, to me, it's just like listening to children in primary school. You know, it's this need to be right and to win the argument, rather than actually considering the feelings that would come when you're thrown out, or when someone changes the locks and puts your stuff on the front porch. What's the difference? You know, she's got somewhere to go to. Maybe if she was thrown out, she'd find somewhere to go as well. The feelings are going to be the same. There's the feeling that she's unwelcome. Someone has to be present, you know, an adult has to be there when she's in the house. It reminds me of, you know, a violent parent who there has to be a social worker present when they meet their kids, because who knows what they're going to do. They might suddenly punch their child in the face or something. And it just feels similar, that Kaitlin's being treated like she's completely, anything could happen. She could go absolutely crazy in the house. So an adult must be present. What's she going to do to her brothers? You know, she could be really dreadfully abusive towards them because she was angry when they wouldn't let her in. So it all just seems to be about scoring points, competition, winning, making sure that their image is perfectly preserved. And it doesn't seem to matter to them how much of an impact this would have on Kaitlin. You know, or how much being right will actually affect Kaitlin negatively. What she needs, it seems to me, more than anything, is to have her feelings and her thoughts validated, to begin to be able to trust herself again. But what her parents are doing here is the opposite. They're invalidating them, and they're putting their own needs first. You know, they're putting their own need to feel like they haven't done anything wrong and that they're great parents before their daughter's need to be able to trust herself and be a strong, empowered woman who's not going to end up with someone like James, you know, who knows the difference between being respected and being disrespected, and who knows that she deserves to be respected. I'm going to leave it here and I'll continue in the next video. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and I'll see you then.